Igor Tomych. My name is Igor Tomych, and I'm CEO of DashDevs. That's a software development and fintech consulting company. I also launched a new project, which is called Fintech Garden in December last year. And we are starting the community of people who are interested and have an experience or would like to gain an experience in fintech space area, because working in this area, I see that there is some lack of digital information and publicly available guidance how you can actually build certain things or how they're functioning. So we would like to cover this gap in the UK market. My story is pretty obvious, I would say. I used to be a software engineer. I was lucky enough to do the coding. I got an experience with the computer in '98. I started with the Pascal language while I was in school. I had a connection with internet. So it helped me to understand what is the software engineering and why do I like it. So I jumped into the professional software engineering from 2004. I worked in several companies, different positions like software engineer and software engineering manager. And then I've started my own company in 2011, DashDevs. Initially, we started with the focus on the mobile engineering because those days it wasn't really clear where the mobile world is going to bring the whole industry. But I saw a really big game changer that potentially is going to affect whole users in the world. And nowadays, definitely I can say that the world has been really changed. If you compare it to a decade ago, no one is lots of stuff has changed how we interact with the computers and digital world. So you definitely understand that. And during this journey with own company, we worked and helped different clients in different industries. But from 2016, we started to help to fintech companies and in UK, and we've built quite a bunch of fintech products across all the world. We worked with companies in United States, in UK, in MENA region. One of the key projects that we delivered is the BaaS solution Pi1. It's a banking as a platform, and using this platform, we delivered customer-facing banking application or customer, I would say, financial institution, because they have MEI called Dozens, which allows you to issue the card and start saving and then invest into the bonds and portfolios. We helped different financial institutions in different regions. We worked with NatWest. We know quite well the infrastructure in UK in financial industry, KYC processes, AML, all the main players for opening accounts, issuing cards. So there is certain experience that we hold as a company, and personally, I'm trying to keep my hands a little bit dirty with the technology. I'm no longer a coder, but this experience gives me a really good exposure what technically possible, and then how it's better to structure your products and your approach to make sure that you're efficient from the business standpoint and getting the things done and released to the market to see the real feedback from the real customers. So there is something that I can share. And today I would like to talk about next agenda. So I will give certain insights about the Conway's law, why it's important in organizations building digital products, why business model really matters. That's quite obvious stuff, but I think keeping it in mind while you're making decisions and while you're working with the product is pretty powerful source of insights. Then we will talk about the foundation of the digital bank, like license, team, business processes, software complexity, and software components. And I will talk about two cases, Pi1, banking as a service, and Fintech Core. It's a product that we're currently developing as a company to facilitate the digital banks to the market as less cost and more efficient time to the market. So as I already said, the slides will take around 50 minutes, and then we will have 10 minutes for the questions. And even after that, you will be able to book a meeting with me if you need, and then discuss various questions if you have any. So thank you for joining. The really first one, Conway's law. Sometimes we see that digital products are failing on the market, and I had a lot of conversations with the startup founders, established business, and sometimes people asking us as a software engineer company, like, why software engineering is so hard? The final product doesn't look the way that it's supposed to look, or the efficiency of the resources is not the way how it's supposed to be. And one of the rules that I think is really efficient is that actually every company digital product is copying the communication mechanism of this company, because if you would like to change something in your digital product, you need to start with your own team and communication, because when you're developing, the product will look like your communication in the organization. And it should be kept, because sometimes we are tending to say, okay, engineering doesn't understand certain things, or product management failing to do the deep discovery of the market. But we need to take a look into ourselves as an organization and admit and see the things that we can improve inside of organization as a communication. And then it will affect our products in really good way. And we've been seeing this in our own company. And when we're helping our clients to do the software engineering, one of the focus that we're doing is actually taking a look how the communication structure looks like in the company. And I think this is pretty important, and it will affect all the results that you do. The second one is business model. We've seen a lot of products go into the market, and then they going from the market, because delivering the technical product or the digital product doesn't guarantee you're a business success. And if you have a successful or the business model that your customers are finding, solving their issues or helping them to generate greater achievements, then even if you have certain technical issues or the functionality might be and can be extended or enhanced, the customer's still been getting benefits from your product. So if you're developing or planning to develop, the really first thing that you need to ask, what is the business model? Why the customers are going to me? Why they're going to use my product? For instance, in UK, if we're talking about more easier access to your banking application or your financial instruments, this niche is pretty covered. There are quite big players like Revolut, Monzo, and frankly speaking, I think this business model, easy to use and easy access to financial instruments, is already not there, because the market is eaten by other companies. And if you're planning to go to the market, it's really good before even doing technical stuff to see what is the real business model that you would like to be on the market with, and what are the solving issues for your customers you're going to produce. Because maybe in certain cases, you don't need an extensive product for that. One of the really interesting case for me is TransferWise, which initially came to the market was easy and understandable model, cheaper cross borders. And Swift technically as a network fails to do that, because the minimum for the transfer is $20. And Wise was pretty good with that. They have more financial products today, but the business model worked, and it's pretty understandable, easier and cheaper. And that's why engineering team, even having this business model in their mind, they can try to solve certain things and communicate better, and it's easier to get the things done with the technical and product team if you have a clear and understandable business model for your team and for your customers. So I would say you need to put one of the basket, like, are you solving issues or your greater achievement for the customer? Defining what is that, go to the market as fast as you can, test the solution, and then see the results. And the faster you go by solving or with a greater achievement, then you will see more results, even if the tech is not perfect, because believe me, tech is never perfect. And then I would say if you have two components ready as the business model and the way how you would like to structure your communication in the company, what you need to control and focus is 4 main items: is the licenses and the team who is understanding what are the licenses and how to overcome the obstacles during the development. You need to focus on the business processes, and then just after that, the software development. Because being an engineer, there is no business in software development, because the software development helps you to do the business, but not vice versa. Because nowadays, if you are not the engineering company, it doesn't work. By having mobile application or by having the website, there is no difference between you and your competitors on the market. So I think it's important to keep in mind that all 4 items are pretty important to be successful. And let's focus on them and go items through the item to discuss what exactly it means. So the really first one is a license. It's just short overview. I understand it can be much deeper, but just for your overview, in UK, if you would like to launch the digital bank or neobank, there are 2 possible ways to do that. One of the first is electronic money institution. Technically, it's not a bank, but it's easier to achieve or get the license for that. In this case, you're going through the regulatory requirement, electronic money regulation 2011, and you have an ability to provide limited access to financial services. The cost is around 100k pounds, and the perception of the market is really good, because nowadays even Revolut is still acting as the MEI institution, and it's well received by the market. And if you go in to the market and you would like to introduce certain innovations and the license fits you, then it works well. It's easier to get it. In my experience, it takes around 3 months, and it can be done. And you can then test, and technically you can issue the electronic money to your customers by running all the required compliance processes as the KYC, AML, then opening bank accounts, or issuing the cards. It really depends on your business model. And then for comparison, there is a full retail license, which is giving you much wider access to services. It gives you an ability to do the credits, and it gives you an ability to do the investment services. Usually, in my understanding, it takes around £2 million, around £1 million for the due diligence with the Big Four, and then for the compliance process and running through the regulation. And it's more trustworthy. There are cases when the digital bank starts with the MEI license, and sometimes, and there are certain examples when banks are starting with the digital banks starting with the full retail license. They are not quite common, but it usually comes from a player on the market who already been in fintechs, and the credibility through the regulators gives them an ability to apply for the license, get it, and then start building or doing the customer acquisition with the full retail bank license. So 2 possible ways. Each jurisdiction or country has own challenges and all the differences. In our case, we worked with the both types of entity, with the full retail license and MEI. And I would say from the technology standpoint or the business model, it matters because different regulations, but it's not blocking you with the business model and software process, because in both ways you need to apply regulations, and you still will be serving through the digital channels your customers and clients. The second parameter, which is really important, is the team. I would say that with the team, it's really important because you cannot predict all the obstacles and issues that you potentially might have during the execution. Fintech products, they're complex. They require the cross-world between 2 types of the knowledge, financial instruments, and they, believe me, they can be pretty complex. But on the other hand, you need to compete on pretty aggressive market, usually with lots of players in digital area, because lots of big companies like Revolut or Monzo, or other players, they're constantly chasing new markets. And in this case, there is no expectance that you will be the only player on the market, which means you will have to compete. And the key source for successful competing on the market is a team, because depending how good and creative your team is, you will be able to solve something that you haven't foreseen before, and then provide better results for your customers. In this case, multidisciplinary expertise, that's what I'm taking, like what I'm talking about. You need engineers who understand it, who understand what are the financial products. They're not just doing the software and buttons and applications, but they understand what are the financial products. It would be good if they have an experience on the particular market and the players, and certain experience with the players and their products on the market. Now, also, the team should be engaged with a collaborative problem-solving approach, because there is no possibility to define where your position starts and where your position ends, even with the engineering part or product development. You, as a product development, potentially you need to get into the third parties, APIs, and understand what are the pros and cons and what are the potential issues that we need to overcome with this vendor, and then make a decision. Maybe it sounds like a technical job, but sometimes you need products and other people as a treasury function or other people to see what's going on and make decisions. So it's pretty collaborative experience. And what we've been doing is actually proving that. Another thing that we see is pretty beneficial when the team working in agile development, because you cannot really go into the waterfall and say, okay, we're going to spend next 1 year building the product, and then it will be exactly the thing that the market wants. The market is pretty moving, and certain things might be not in demand well when you're finishing, and agile development will help to adjust those aims and get the product more that the market will want to use. Another thing which is really important, that the team should be focused on user experience. Connection with the potential customers, beta testers, is really important. Innovation is something that by default everyone is expecting from fintechs, because competing against high street banks, it takes you innovations. And adaptability, because as I'm saying, the market is pretty hot, and you need to make sure that you can properly adapt for this market. So I hope with the team it's quite clear. Another item that is really important is compliance, and that's something that the whole team should understand. The process of onboarding, KYC, and ML, why it's important, and there is no shortcuts with those processes, because we've seen quite a lot of cases when the understanding of the KYC ML was not on the level that it requires from the regulator, and it potentially might lead to issues with the regulator. So compliance is there. Another thing in European market is GDPR. It also should be in your understanding and focus, because for me, it's quite funny that in one way, as a financial institution, you oblige and you have to keep the records of the customer. But on the other hand, in GDPR, the customer can ask you to delete their data, and you need to anonymize it and then keep it. So certain things might be quite controversial. There is another thing that you should keep in focus. It's payments regulations, because there are certain regulations from PSD standpoint that requires you to check the destination. You need to check lots of things with payments. They might be exploited in bad ways, and it should be kept in mind too. Regulatory reporting is really important, because in this case, you will report to regulatory depending on your license, and the data visibility should be transparent to the regulator. And another thing that you should keep in mind is consumer protection, because keeping the accounts protected, keeping the system safe, their data is pretty important in fintech projects. No one is happy when the data is exposed, and there are quite a lot of cases when even I don't know, password protection companies failing to do their job for the consumer protection. But in fintech projects, one of the really key thing is a trust. And you cannot build and grow the fintech product if you're not really taking care about consumer protection, security, the data. And if you are failing in this area, it will be really hard to regain the trust and continue to grow. So the compliance is really important, and sometimes I even seen the cases when it's outsourced, but you need to think about that and put it as a cornerstone in your system. Another function which is really important, and usually it's not enough in focus from the technical companies, is the treasury function, because the financial products are pretty complex, and the treasury management can become complex, and you need someone who really into deep understanding how to do the cash management, ensure that the company is in correct way works with the cash flow and certain financial visibility. Because one of the cases, just to say, if you have an ability to top up your accounts, there is quite big difference between balances and the cash flow between your company and your third-party vendors. One of the really good example is Stripe. Like we all using Stripe for certain financial operations, and sometimes Stripe is used for top-ups. Let's say I'm starting, I don't know, certain application that gives me an ability to load the balance, and let's say we're using Stripe for the top-ups. For real, your customers are expecting the balance is updated in real time. When I'm using my card to top up an account, I would like to see the balance almost immediately. But for real, the cash flow and the money will hit your Stripe account, not even your banking account as a system, safeguard account or something, Stripe account. It will hit in 7 business days, which means the difference between the balances and the cash. And this should be well thought and well controlled by the Treasury. And in my experience, I've seen certain cases when the Treasury function was not properly done from the business perspective. And then it was a little bit biting the company back in certain cases. It's always manageable to fix, but you need to, from day one, make sure that this covered in pretty sufficient way. Another task is foreign exchange risk management, because we've seen cases on the market when the company was putting their business model with the current foreign exchange situation, and then seeing that it doesn't work. And business model was failing, the product was failing. So this should be professionally handled. As the foreign exchange risk, there are quite a lot of ways how to approach that, but it also should be well thought, even in current business context in the world. So you cannot take for the granted the things that are right now, that they will be the same in future. So this should be taken care of by the treasury function. Another pretty important stuff is investment management, because startups, if we're talking about startups, you need to take care how you're managing your investments and how you're managing risk if you're providing investment functionality. And capital structure and optimization for the company is also important, which requires the treasury function to be implemented and well executed. And another thing that I think is crucial, and sometimes it's not enough focused by the companies, is marketing. Believe me, there is no perfect software. And what makes companies more successful on the market partially is marketing, and how you're communicating and how your brand is received by the market and the potential customers. There are quite a lot of examples. One, by properly establishing your brand look and feel, communication, you can achieve better results in the market when it's not even imaginable that you can take certain part of the market share. But by properly highlighting your differences and value propositions, you can receive and gain more market share. I really love an example of the sparkling waters. There is a market of the country, and there is a specific country where the biggest brand is sparkling water, and literally the product doesn't differ from any others. And what makes this product more valuable is the proper marketing. And understanding that marketing is one of the tools which is really important in fintechs will drive your growth. How you communicating with your clients? What is other channels for your digital marketing? What is your customer acquisition? Like what is the potential customer acquisition cost that is sustainable with your model? We have going through all those things with our clients, and even the numbers with the customer acquisition pricing is changing. When Monzo was starting, the customer acquisition price for £25 per customer was okay, but nowadays it's harder to compete, and the models requires you to be more lean and efficient with that, and it should be well thought even before starting the development, because how you going to get your customers on board, engaged, retain, and how you will work with the customer retention, because customer support, all the support processes, they should be factored in the business model and in the marketing, because it's really important nowadays. You cannot compete just with the technical stuff. And another thing which is important is engineering. Frankly speaking, I have not seen any companies who are failing if they have successful business model marketing failing from engineering standpoint, because engineering can be resolved. There are quite a lot of ways to how to approach. You can build your own team. You can do the out stuff if you don't have resources and the knowledge how to properly collect and build your own team. You can go outsource, you can go buy products. There are quite a lot of ways how to solve engineering. That's why all the previous items are important. And software engineering in fintech is a little bit harder than, I would say, regular digital software development, because certain knowledge is required. One of the really example that, like, for me as a technical person speaks for itself. There are different ways how you can keep the balances records in the system. And there are specific data types which can be used. And engineers who are not having an experience with the fintech solutions, sometimes they're choosing not because of misconception or not understanding how it works, but they didn't have this proper experience. They choosing the data types, which leads to balance inconsistency, and then it might be an issue for you from a regulatory standpoint, or even for losing the customers, because if you are keeping the balance and the balance is not the right amount that your customer is expecting, that might be a problem. So in this case, in software engineering, fintech, it's quite important to understand that not all engineers will be able to perform the level that you require, and there is a specific knowledge that you would need to see in your engineering team. One of them is product understanding, but another one, understanding which technologies are good fit for the fintechs, because certain are not working, and it's quite longer discussion. I think in future I might do the webinar about potential issues that we had or we've seen has been in engineering fintechs, but I cannot stress more why this selection should be done, and it will affect your business in quite a lot of ways. Another thing which is important is DevOps. It's around the infrastructure, and there are cases on the market when the regulator was finding for the data leaking, or even certain companies were hijacked and their performance was an issue by the third-party intrusion in their system. So security is really, really important, because once again, the trust is something that is driving fintechs, and making sure that you're building the castle that no one can penetrate is important. And it takes certain structure and the knowledge around cloud solutions if you're using them, or on-premise. And sometimes this task is outsourced with the penetration companies. And I would say from the technology perspective, I've seen the huge issues even after doing the successful penetration testing with the third parties. The system still were hacked. The system still were having systematical issues. which will lead into financial losses or to the losses to reputation. So this is really important. You don't have the second chance for the first impression with the customers, and it should be kept on the specific level to make sure that your customers are happy and protected. As I already said, there are agile methodologies, which nowadays are really helping to adapt to the changing market and to the context. Once again, maybe it's a good potential webinar that we can talk about how different technologies or methodologies helping you to deliver to the market and what are the differences. We're using as a company, we're using smart, we're using depending on the situation with the client, the team capacity and the goals. But I would say waterfall doesn't work nowadays, and you need to really adapt and see what are the best practices nowadays to deliver to the market. Quality assurance is important. Sometimes it's underestimated element. For instance, one of the funny stories that I've seen in fintechs, there is a pretty specific functionality to block the customer. And sometimes in fintech projects, you have the debit cards issued. And I've seen the product when the blocking functionality, not because engineers didn't thought of the system, but the system is pretty complex. You have the customer who is going to be blocked, the session are rejected, they cannot longer access the technical or mobile applications or websites, but they have in their pockets, they have the cards issued. And one of the issue of quality assurance was not really thinking through for testing, disabling the process or freezing the card. And then you technically don't have an account, but you still can have an access to the money which shouldn't be there. And you can go to ATM and withdraw the money, but your account is blocked. And I would say if this would go to the specific level of production, that might be potential issue for the regulator and to the Treasury, because on the one hand, someone should not use their funds or the funds available on their accounts, but they still have this backdoor with a card, which is, in my understanding, the quality assurance issue. And it's pretty important. Another thing which I would like to highlight is software architecture. In my experience, there are two different levels between executing and architecture, because if you build in the skyscraper, you are not expecting architecture company to build it. You need blueprint. And with the complex software, designing the system the way that it's scalable, it's robust and secure, it takes another level. And sometimes the results that the system is not well architectured or have critical issues, you will not see immediately, because starting with a small amount of customers, you will not see performance issues, you would not see security issues, but scaling bigger, you will not have to change the infrastructure or architecture. And then when people or somehow the issues will be discovered, the cost of the fixes will be much higher. So proper architecturing and proper approaching this task is really important, because it cannot go back in time and then fix it. You will need to fix with a larger scale, more complexity, with the existing customers in the production, and it's harder. And certain things like even cards, if you would like to change something, you will need to reissue cards and so on and so forth. So I would not stress more that all those things are important. As already said, security is the key in fintech's project, because you need to make sure that cybersecurity is there, fraud prevention, because even if your processes are kept from the compliance process, you do the KYC, your system can be exploited by third parties for leveraging your system and AMI license to get the funds from the productivities. One of the ways that we've seen in productions that fully legally, certain people are opening accounts and then they're using those accounts for receiving the fraud money from the third-party sources. And then from your system, it doesn't make any issues, because someone is getting the money in, but the whole activity is fraud, and you need to take care. And sometimes about this issue, we're not thinking before we're facing them in production, or even from regulator highlights. So all those things should be thought through as a product process, and it's important as part of your security, not third parties. Data privacy and data leakage, especially if you're dealing with the personal financial information and personal information, because in fintechs, you potentially might be involved with the personal financial information, is like a storing, holding cards. I've seen cases when business didn't understand the complexity and the regulations around keeping the full pan of the cards, and they were just kept in certain systems in plain text and then processed with the back office officers, which is okay unless the regulator doesn't know. But it's not okay because that's your security, because properly managing the cards, tokenizing them, not exposing them as a full pounds is really important. And once again, regulatory compliance, the checks, the data collections. I've seen one of the project recently who actually has been issuing the cards for someone who didn't provide any personal information except the phone number. And frankly speaking, the whole C-level team didn't understand the issue that you cannot issue the card to someone who is just providing you the phone number, no personal information. And they were reasoning that they have a limit per month's usage. But then in 2 days, when this issue was publicly available to the community, the company who was providing them an issue and functionality, they, without any explanation, they withdrew the service from this startup. And they, frankly, they didn't understood what happened. And to avoid such situations, you need to make sure that you're double and triple checking the situation and regulatory compliance. So it's the key, and the incident reports are also important. So you need to keep the business processes in place. And another thing, which is I've seen is important for the digital banks, is business processes. You never should start with the software. You need to start with the business processes, because you communicate, you developed how your business is working, and then you're developing the software, because this way you are saving the money and the time for the launch, because running the thought machine and thinking through the business process is easier than to test and change the software, because the cycle is different, definitely different. The fintech software is quite complex, as I already said, because of the regulatory compliance, the data management, integration with the different systems, and sometimes it's with the legacy systems. If you're dealing with the banking, core banking, accounts management, you need to deal with the scalability, innovations, and security. So in this case, before doing the software, it's pretty important to design your business processes. In our experience, you can use like a different tool, starting even with the Google Docs, just going and writing what is the cycle when the customer comes to you, what are the types of the documents that he needs to provide, how they checks, how they rechecked, and so on and so forth. So just by writing down the use cases will help a lot, and then it will reduce your time for the development and fixing and amending issues that are potentially might be in your business processes, if you will think them through, and it will help to bring the fintech software complexity on another level, because you will focus on those things instead of rethinking and eating engineering attention for the business process. Usually, the software components which are involved in the in the digital bank, one of the first is virtual ledger system. It's a core balance system and transactions information. Usually, it's called virtual ledger system. Sometimes it's maintained by third parties. You are going to the bank, partner bank, who are hosting the balances. But we've seen quite a lot of cases when, by building own virtual ledger system or buying the product that helps to do that, you will have more flexibility around the solutions. Another key component is order management system, because if you're going into any changes into the balances between your customer accounts or system accounts, you need to store this information as order management, like the customer is ordering to deduct his balance and send the money to, I don't know, another bank. you need to keep the system which is executing this order, marking all the steps, going through this cycle, and keeping this information for future overview, regulatory requirements, and so on and so forth. So order management is another component. Back office is something that usually is accessible the way as a web portal, where your roles from the compliance or the treasury function, they have the tools to access the system. And it keeps you and gives you an ability to control your business processes. Customer-facing application, let's talk about the mobile application in this case. Usually it's a customer-facing channel for communication with the clients and issue solving. Usually with the digital bank, it might be the only way how the customer seeing your brand and receiving it. And it's pretty important to have first-class citizenship in this case. It doesn't limit you in terms of the technology. Are you going to use the native solutions or hybrid or even web versions? But you need to make sure that it's usable. And I've seen cases in the United States when big banks are using pretty outdated technologies, which are not satisfying the clients, and it takes them ages to understand that and change that. And if you go in to compete with the retail banks, you should really think through this. Business intelligence is really important nowadays because in startups, especially, you need to be data-driven, and you need to focus and build the data lake and advanced system analytics based on real-time data. There are quite a lot of ways to implement that, starting with enterprise-grade solutions like Looker, or more easier and achievable solutions with the Tableau or Power BI, but there are quite a lot of ways to do that nowadays. I would suggest to use continuous delivery as key component for the software continuously delivered to the production and different environments to reduce the cycle of the testing, like a deliver with the smaller pieces with the better quality, and it will give you an ability to deliver to market faster. Infrastructure is really important. Also, that's a part of the business model and your solution. If you're choosing the cloud solution, or you're choosing the on-premise, it's important to make sure that everything is well thought as infrastructure, microservices, if you're using this approach, and the robust and secure way to deploy the solution and maintaining the integrity. And usually I would say, if we're talking about the digital bank, in my experience, it should take you 6 months completely from the scratch to release. It really depends on the complexity in your business model, but in average, that's what we've seen, and that's what we've been delivering to our clients. The ledger system, as I told, is the virtual balance system that keeps you the track of the balances and the benefits that you have an ability to see what's going on in the system in real time. The backend, as already talked, the system that gives you an ability to control the business function of your applications. Let's skip the slides. I will go a little bit faster because I talked through them during the components, but you can ask and we can revert back if you will have any specific questions around those slides. Mobile applications, and we will share the presentation so you will be able to go into the details. BI and data lake, customer support is an important thing because, once again, as I said, digital way how to access your clients is important, and there is no way for customers to go to the branch, solve certain issues. So the business process should be designed with a way to access FAQ to your customers and ability to communicate with the different tiers of the software customer support. So it should be in your business processes too. One of the keys that is pretty key for us is a Pi1. In 2018, we've been approached by Project Imagine company, and we've been doing the evaluation of the third-party platform to start the customer-facing brand. And during the evaluation, we found that there is no platform good to combine two licenses, EMEA and MiFID II, which would give them ability to do the electronic money issuing and then provide their customers with an ability to buy bonds and portfolios. So we took the full responsibility by designing architecture and doing UI UX of the technical solution. It took us 9 months completely from the scratch to the market. It's a little bit bigger than I said, 6 months, but the complexity was bigger. We were combining 2 licenses. We spent quite a lot of time perfecting our user experience. Application has around 700 screens. It's a pretty big one. It basically combines 4 applications in one: everyday banking, budgeting functionality, bonds, buying instruments, and portfolio management buying functionality. So it's pretty complex as a banking as a service platform, which is powering the customer-facing brand. We also build the way that it's stable and scalable. It's proven through the production. We approached the way that we had certain quality control and quality gates to make sure that the production is robust and doesn't have any issues that might lead to potential financial losses or trustability losses, as I can say. It was efficient and cheap. If you compare, we reduced the pricing and time to market I would say, in half, because usually this solution, if you would build yourself by hiring the team and executing it, cost you twice more, and it will take you twice more as a time, almost up to 2 years, I would say. We did 30 integration with the different vendors, starting with the KYC processes. We integrated with the OnFido. We integrated with the compliant advantage for AML. We did the integration with the CFAS fraud database. We did quite a lot of things to make sure that the business and compliance process is protected. And after pushing into the production, then we supported this solution almost for 2 years. And it was pretty fruitful and really great results for the company, because they received the funds for the next rounds, and they achieved this with this platform 1K monthly active users, and the turnover, monthly turnover cash was around £2 million on average. So I would say it's pretty decent results. And what we've learned from that, that it's a complex task, but it can achieved. So if we're talking about the approach, it took us 2 weeks to start with the vision and mission for this project. We designed the UI and business processes for 6 weeks. Then we did architecturing for around 3 weeks, and we executed the whole project completely from the scratch, with the infrastructure, with the disaster plan, with all the compliance and back office functionality in 25 weeks. As the result was the production release of the dozens application with the KYC and everyday banking functionality, and then we did the maintenance and support. We learned quite a lot as a company, and as the results, we built our own product, which is called Fintech Core. Right now, we're on the final stage of the launching this product. We're going to introduce this on our website, and we're going to do the launch information. And we've built this as a modular system with the different functionality, which are usually might be found in fintech projects, as onboarding orchestration, KYC, AML, balances orchestration, banking accounts orchestration, cards, balances, transactions orchestration, payments, FX and cross-border, deposit credits, notifications, and back office. So all the things that I mentioned today as the key functionality, it's there, it's modular, and it can be bought as a product with the licensing of the sources. Because if you go into the market, there are usually, I would say, 2 ways: build your own custom solution, where you can buy an access to the cloud solutions, banking as a service. But rarely you can find the solution that gives you an ability to do the custom development and buy the license for the product, for the sources. And in this case, you will have the flexibility to introduce the changes and the integrations that you need and do the custom development yourself, but you will have a pretty decent boilerplate and ready-to-use product that you can launch almost immediately. And one of the key features for us multi-region support that you can leverage different processes in different regions, and multi-language support, which gives you an ability to target more than one market or markets with the different languages. So that's what we learned, and we're going soon to introduce this product and go more in details what it helps, how it helps, and how it can be what we're licensed. Thank you for your time. We're almost in time with the timing. So in this case, there is an ability to ask the questions right now, or you can see 4 different QR codes, the way how you can access, you can book the call with me, or you can go to my LinkedIn page, you can email me, or you can see the information on our website where I'm doing quite a lot of blogging and see insights about the fintechs and the process around them. So in this case, let me stop sharing, and then we can do a little bit of questions if you have. So looking forward to hear your questions, guys. Maybe you have questions. Okay, I used to do quite a lot of online lectures and decide if there is no questions on the 2 possible outcomes. One, everything was clear, or nothing was clear. So I hope it's the first case. If we don't have any questions, then we're going to share this record. We will share this record on our website, and feel free to contact me in more private way. If you have any questions, I'm always glad to help and share my expertise and experience. Thank you for coming. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you.